We're back, everyone. Welcome back to the FTN Bets College Basketball Betting Show. I'm your host, Mike Randle, Chief Content Officer here. Follow me on X at Randle Rand, and we continue to roll. That's right. It is a grind. We embrace college basketball. The NFL is starting to slow down. Week 13, college basketball is heating up with rivalry and conference battles this week. And before you know it, the calendar is going to change. And when we get to 2024, you know exactly what time it is. It's time to cash. Make sure you join us here at FTN Bets. You can use the promo code on the bottom of the screen. We are live. Mike Kutry is killing it. He's over 70 units, just the prop master here. Frank Brank's models, so many great things that you have to be a part of. Make sure you join us here. And here, if you're new to the show, we're on a mission. We're on a road. We're on a race to 100 units. My preference here, sides and totals. That's what we attack. And last year was fantastic. We had 83 units up on our sides. We're going for 100. And the way that we went about it is, with sides, they get sharp here with college basketball. It is not easy to just win 3, 4, 5 units a day on sides and totals, but that is the path that we choose. It is the path of most resistance, but we are going to get there. All we have to do is average 1 unit per day. When we started this, which was last Monday, that's 120 days to March Madness. And what have we done so far? No problem. We're up 1.72 units per day. That is 13.75 units since last Monday, which is 11/20. And we are going to keep it rolling here. We got some comments coming in. Rob, it's a beautiful day to cash some bets. Yes, it is, my friend. We have a good slate today, an even better slate as the week goes on. Good afternoon. Hope everyone had Thanksgiving and loved today's card. Al, I agree with you. Last night, we had a real successful night, got active with those late games. Aiden Mahaney got over right away for a St. Mary's team that is not good, folks. Not good. You have to have playmakers in college basketball, and they certainly don't, but we will get into that here. As for anybody who's new, this is what we do. We go through as many games that has popped to me, games I have an interest in, because I try to cover as many games as you want, because the games that I'm interested in, you may not be interested in, and vice versa. But I'll tell you my strong plays, my slight leans, we'll go right through it. Make sure you put games in the comments if I don't bring it up. First off, look, Michigan State minus 28.5 against Georgia Southern. You know the deal. The Spartans are shooting 26.8% from three-point range. Last year, they were third best in the nation, 39.3%. That is due for some positive regression. Wisconsin, home to start the Big Ten slate, is coming up. That is the next game. So I know a lot of you talk about look-ahead games. That is next Tuesday. So we have some time there. It's not like this game is coming immediately on Friday. They defend the arc inside at the 9th best rate in the nation. Georgia Southern is horrific. This is Charlie Henry's first season as coach. They lost to Georgia Tech by 22. They lost to Jacksonville by 17. They lost to Northeastern on a neutral by 17, allowing 93 points to Northeastern. Think about that. This should be a get-right game. It's a classic get-right spot. I don't like laying lines that get close to 30. It just doesn't make me feel great. You saw it last night with UConn against New Hampshire. That was a look-ahead game for UConn going against Kansas, but I'm going to lay it here. Smaller wager, going to lay it. Michigan State at home needs this one, coming off the rough loss to Arizona. I think they get it right. Next one, Indiana State versus Southern Illinois. This one is tricky. I will tell you, this is a historic play for me. Indiana State is very, very tough at home. 11-6 against the spread under Josh Schertz per Bet Labs. As a favorite of 5 points or more in that scenario, 10-3, that's 77%. They are 7-1 in their last 8 home games in that scenario as well. So they have covered 7 of the last 8 when they have been favored by 5 points or more. Now, Xavier Johnson is a wonderful player here for Southern Illinois. He's the George Mason transfer. He's been fantastic, 23 points per game, basically 40% from three-point range. But that is really it. The Sycamores come home after 3 neutral wins. This is the first game in the Missouri Valley Conference for these teams. I don't think it's a sleepy spot. I think Indiana State's ready to go. I liked it when it opens at like 5, 5.5. It's getting up there, getting to 7, but I'm sticking to my belief here. I'm not going to get scared off by a point and a half. I am going with Indiana State minus 6.5 versus Southern Illinois. I have been on Western Carolina all year, and there's no reason for me to stop here. This Western Carolina team is very underrated, and they certainly can score. And if you remember, I put this was why I put one pick in the action app. Every time I put a plays out, I put one in the action app, and they were playing in North Alabama, and that line was going the wrong way. I like Western Carolina here. They got us to the window on Sunday very comfortably over North Alabama, 81-63. I like them in this spot against Tennessee Tech. It's 5.5. I know it's on the road, but my problem is this. What has Tennessee Tech done to give you any sort of confidence that they should come home and all of a sudden be tough? They beat Presbyterian away by 4 in overtime. That was their big win. But now they're coming home against Western Carolina. They lost 3 straight. They lost at home to Murray State. Western Carolina is a tough team with good guards that shoots well. They ended up shooting 38% from three-point range this year. They are great on the boards, and they don't turn the ball over. You recognize that 5.5 is a tricky number in college basketball, and we have talked about this. I am going to lay this one here. This is a non-conference game. It's not a conference game. I believe in Western Carolina. Tennessee Tech may come out great in the first half. I just think they eventually get to the window and get the win. I just don't like Providence covering big spreads. I don't. And Providence this year, under Kim English, has done a nice job. They beat Georgia on a neutral by 7. They beat Lehigh at home by 14. They beat Milwaukee by 10, but didn't cover. They beat Wisconsin at home, played very well, shot the lights out, but they have issues. They can turn the ball over. They can get a little sloppy. They are terrible with the turnovers, 20.4 turnover percentage per game on offense per KenPom. They are solid on defense, but they don't shoot the 3 well, and they are not great from the free throw line. Here comes Wagner. Wagner under Donald Copeland, great at defending the 3. Not good on offense, needs to rebound, needs to muck it up. 21 points. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's a lot to me for a Providence team that has Rhode Island coming up in a rivalry game on Saturday. So not one of my stronger plays. Wagner is not super talented, but getting 21 points here, this feels like a UConn, New Hampshire game from yesterday. I will take the 21 points. This line is too much for Notre Dame. Give it up for Micah Shrewsbury, who's in a rebuilding spot here with Notre Dame, who lost everybody but one single player on this team. But what have they done? They beat Niagara at home. Then they lost to the aforementioned Western Carolina. Then they played Auburn on a neutral, tough, but they ended up losing. Auburn pulled away. They beat Oklahoma State on a neutral, and they beat Maryland Eastern Shore by 20. It's an all-freshman backcourt here for Micah Shrewsbury, with his son Braden and Marcus Burton, who is a lights-out freshman, a lights-out scoring machine. They kept him there at Notre Dame even after Mike Brey retired, which is really impressive. South Carolina likes to shoot the 3, but this is an old rivalry between coaches here. Shrewsbury and Lamont Paris know each other back from Division III days when they were coaching against each other in major powerhouse games. I think it stays close. Notre Dame is hot. I don't trust South Carolina. November 28th game, a lot of people at that game. I don't think so. I will take Notre Dame plus the 8 points. LSU is going to get their pace here against Syracuse. That's my belief. So I'm going with the defensive-minded Tigers against the Syracuse team that has pretty much been Judah Mintz, and that's it. Look at what LSU has done. They're holding opponents to 42% from inside the arc. They are turning people over, 23.4% defensive turnover rate. That's top 20 in the nation. So Matt McMahon has it going here for LSU. They beat North Texas, who's very tough on a neutral. They beat Wake Forest, solid team on a neutral. They beat North Florida, comfortable by 12. They also played Dayton and lost a very close game there, and Dayton has been very competitive. Now on the other side, Syracuse, terrible from three-point range, terrible on the defensive boards. Of course, you know that. They beat Chaminade. Congratulations. Tennessee played well, then faded. Gonzaga played well, then faded. Colgate at home needed a miracle comeback. They did not cover that game, miracle comeback. Canisius didn't cover. New Hampshire, I don't think they covered either. It was very, very close. I am taking LSU here. I'm taking LSU, and I'm also going to take the under because I think LSU gets their pace. They do Syracuse likes to go up and down the floor, but LSU's defense is not going to allow that. And LSU's offense can actually struggle a little bit, especially here in the Dome. So we're taking LSU. I see those questions. We'll get to them in a minute. I don't think Citadel should be favored by 6.5 over anyone. This is a battle within the state between these two teams, Charleston Southern, and from Charleston, South Carolina, and the Citadel, who reside in Charleston, South Carolina. Anytime you have a rivalry game from proximity, I'm going to take the points here. You know the Citadel can light it up, but my concern is how they're going to be on defense. They don't guard inside the arc well. They don't turn you over. They are good on the offense, on the defensive boards, but Charleston Southern here should be able to keep this game close. Charleston Southern, 3 straight losses away but they have been able to hang in those games and keep them somewhat close. Bethune-Cookman, Wake Forest, they lost by a little bit. This is a rivalry game, and I am not impressed with Citadel. They can shoot themselves in. They can shoot themselves out. Just like we saw with Chattanooga, who relies heavily on the three. When you're a team that shoots, you can have shooting variance. And all I need in a rivalry game is for this to get mucked up a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised to see Charleston Southern win this game outright. The Furman game is coming. Furman has been disappointing this year. Furman has struggled, but that Furman game is coming. And when it comes, they're going to shoot the lights out. Furman is shooting 33% from three-point range. That is not where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be better. They struggle against UAB, but they did post 86 points. They played Wyoming in a neutral, who is very tough, and they lost by 7 in that game. Coastal Carolina away, that's a nice win. Liberty, of course, is tough. South Carolina State does not present any of these issues. This is the worst team by far that Furman has played this year. This number is very large. They've lost 3 of 4. People are going to say, I'm not laying 20 points with Furman. I am. The Furman game is coming where they're going to shoot the lights out from 3 and they're going to run away and hide. And I think this game could be it. South Carolina State, not impressive whatsoever. Metrics are terrible on defense, can't score an offense, turn the ball over a ton, terrible on the defensive boards. Furman, like I said, some shooting variance, but sometimes you're going to ride those teams, and I'm going to ride it tonight with Furman. Don't like this Pittsburgh team. People say Pittsburgh here because they have been good this year so far against the spread. If you're looking at teams against the spread this year, Pittsburgh is at the top. They have played very well. We take a look. Pittsburgh is 5-1 against the spread this year. I think some regression is coming. Here is a Missouri team now that comes in and is going to provide some resistance that maybe Pittsburgh has not seen yet. Missouri going to slow the pace, plays well from inside the arc. They're also great at turning you over. They played just not a great schedule, but they did play Memphis, and that game was close for a while, and then they lost it. Pittsburgh has been riding high, but they've been king of the little people. North Carolina A&T, Binghamton, Florida Gulf Coast, Jacksonville, all those games at home. They went to Florida, got their doors blown off. They played Oregon State in a neutral, who is not the caliber of Missouri. I think you get a good effort today from Dennis Gates' team. I think their defense picks up. I think they're able to play well and shoot well. That's a bad loss to Jackson State about a week and a half ago. But I think they play well in this spot. I'm going to take them plus the 7. This line is sliding down to 6.5 as well. Kansas is going to welcome UConn to Fog Allen at the end of the week. I'm not laying 38.5 points. I'm not laying 38.5 points, almost 40 points, even with Kansas at home today with UConn on the horizon. That's the play. It's not that deep. I'm not going any further than that. You know Kansas is going to blow them out. We could get a backdoor cover. It's just very difficult for me to lay this amount of points. Could this be 100-40? I guess it could. I just think at some point Bill Self calls the dogs off. He wants to keep everybody healthy. They got UConn coming down in a couple of days. I just can't lay 38.5 points. This isn't some deep analysis here. I just saw it. I thought it was way too much. Folks, Loyola Chicago stinks. And it's the sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll be able to cash. They had a miracle comeback against Boston College, which was very frustrating. But we've done well with Loyola Chicago. Florida Atlantic, we got that cover. Eastern Illinois, they look good. The aforementioned Eastern Illinois, who's playing Kansas. Illinois, Chicago, lost that game. New Orleans almost won that game outright as a massive underdog. Creighton, destroyed. Boston College, they were down big and they came back. They're also dealing with some injuries in this game. Here comes Chicago State in a rivalry game. Chicago State played Northern Colorado in a neutral. They went to overtime. Chicago State played Mercer tough at home. Chicago State is going to keep this game close. I just don't put Loyola Chicago to win by 20 points. I don't like the head coach here. I don't like Drew Valentine. I'm not a fan of his. Loyola Chicago was terrible against the spread last year. I don't like them at all. I don't like their fundamentals. And this year, Loyola Chicago is shooting 35.8% from three-point range. They rely too heavily on it. They don't defend the 3 well. They don't hit the offensive boards and get themselves second chances. So again, it's a shooting variance play. Gonzaga just doesn't blow teams out in the non-conference. They call the dogs off here. Gonzaga has not looked super impressive this year. Yes, they have Graham EK inside, but Gonzaga in big spreads against non-conference. Again, this is a historical play. They have USC on a neutral coming up on Saturday. They're coming off a big win over UCLA. This could be an absolute flat spot. Do I think Gonzaga wins by 20? Sure. Do I think they win by 25? Possibly. Do I think they win by 29? I don't think so. I've seen Gonzaga in these spots get up at 15 at halftime, and then a lead stays around 15 to 25 the entire time. No Steel Ventners for Gonzaga, which certainly hurts their offense. They've put up 69, 76, and 63 points since losing Ventnors. I think that's an issue. I think they're not going to be able to be as high scoring as they normally are in these spots with Mark Few and with Graham Ike inside. They should dominate, but are they going to dominate enough to win this game by 30 points? Again, that 30-point number is just way too much for me. And the last pick for me today on a little bit of a shorter slate, I am taking Miami +7. And look, I think people are underrating Kentucky. They've been fading Kentucky. And if you watch these numbers here, they've been moving the opposite way for most of the games. That first game against New Mexico State, that line opened at 18. It dropped down to 15. They won that game by 40. Texas A&M Commerce for Kentucky, same way. They played Kansas. They played very, very well. And if you got the number late, it was 5.5. You actually covered that game. So I think Kentucky has actually played pretty darn well, and they're shooting well too, which is rare for a Calipari team early in the season. They're shooting 42.5% from three-point range. Normally with Cal's teams, they start slow, they play well, but they don't shoot well. And then by the end of the year, when you get to the conference tournament, they're shooting well, and that's why they end up being dangerous. But there's a lot of pressure on Calipari this year. Here comes Miami, Larinaga, disciplined veteran team. I could easily see Kentucky winning this game. I just think the line has gotten too high. It's now up to 6 or 7. I'm going to take it there. I think it got up. It was 5.5 last night. It went up to 7, and now it's starting to come down. I'm going to take Miami +7. Don't mind them on the money line either. Let's get to your questions. You have any here? Late night, Amar, I lost. Yeah. Late night is rough. St. Mary's, really rough. I'll tell you this, Don. Here's the problem with St. Mary's. There are teams like St. Mary's that need you to make a mistake. So when you play your Virginias, when you play St. Mary's, things like that, you need a team that's going to give them opportunities for backdoors, that's going to give them opportunities for easy baskets. St. Mary's, Virginia, those teams, they're very much into pass and stare. And you saw that last night. St. Mary's could not create buckets when they needed it, and all you had was Utah hitting a couple threes early on, and the game was over, which is why we had a 2-unit play at halftime on Utah, because the game was not going our way. NC State outright for all the monies. You know what I'm looking at, Walt, for that one? That's a great one. Walt is the man here at FTN. Walt's show. Walt is the most relentless person I've ever met in college basketball. The guy's a legend. What I like in that game, Walt, is I actually like the under, because I think Mississippi's going to get their pace. You know, they are 5-0, and it is Chris Beard. They are going to play good defense. You know all that. Mississippi is buying in. I kind of like the under in that matchup there. No problem. Al likes NC State too. What do you think, Mike? Where is that line at right now? Let me check that out. We're at the NC State Mississippi line. Let's see where that is. Hold on a second. Yeah, I don't know. I have a funny feeling with Chris Beard at home. I don't know if I want to do that. I know we like NC State, and I know them playing well. Besides last year, are we a big fan of Kevin Keats? Really? Are we? I mean, 95 against BYU in a neutral? Are we sure about that? I'll tell you this. I like the under better. I'm not going to pick a side in that one. It's a toss-up to me. I'm sure as heck not picking NC State. I'll tell you that. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Mississippi, but I'm going to take the under there either way. Ryan, I'm surprised to see the line move against Miami. Ryan, I'll tell you this. I don't give a darn about line movement. I don't care, and I never will, especially early in the season, because I think we put the time in. We trust our handicapping. As the year goes on and it gets a little sharper, sure, it sprinkles on the Sunday. You like to get closing line value. But early on in the year, I've had lines move for and against me, and I really don't care. I believe in what it is. Western Carolina moved the other way. You've seen it so many times. Siena a couple days ago moved the other way, went crazy. I'm going to go with my handicapping. I'm going to trust it and see what happens there. There you go, folks. There are the games. Got them out there, went through it, put them in the bet tracker. You'll see them in the Discord as well. We don't start till 6:30. And last night was a nice one. We got off to a great start there with Xavier losing at home to Oakland. You're going to give me 15.5 points with Greg Campy? Get out of here. And then we ended it with a nice win there by San Jose State. So here we go, folks. As always, thank you for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're going Tuesday and Wednesday. And I'm going to be at the Seton Hall game with my buddy Gus Kearns, Screen the Screener podcast. We're there there as well tomorrow against Northeastern in a box, in the lap of luxury. That is not my style, folks. I can tell you that. But we're going to be there at that game. We will see how things go. So thank you so much, as always, for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll be back again then, and then we will see you again on Friday. As always, folks, don't forget, get in there, trust your handicapping, and let's continue on the road to 100 units.